Brace yourselves, we are now witnessing Labour's own attempt at triangulation, a policy so legally thorny and politically theatrical that even Nigel Farage looked vaguely impressed. According to this morning's Daily Mail, under Yvette Cooper's proposed white paper, any foreign national convicted of any offence, not just those jailed for over 12 months, could now be deported. Every crime counts, seems to be the new motto. But behind the headlines lies a collision of principle and populism, law and outrage, policy and performance. Would they be imprisoned first and then deported after they'd done their sentence? Would we actually pay for their lodging while their sentence was performed, or would we send them off the moment they come out of the court? To understand what's changing, we must revisit the legal terrain. Currently, under Section 32 of the UK Borders Act 2007, the Home Secretary must issue a deportation order against foreign criminals sentenced to 12 months or more unless exceptions apply, most often under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which protects the right to family and private life. This, even for people who happen to have a foreign passport, even if they've never actually been back to the country. I know one woman who was imprisoned for 2 years. She had a South African passport. She'd never been to South Africa. She was actually a homeless person who I met while I was campaigning for a council seat many years ago, and I met her and her husband. They were slightly odd. They lived in a couple of caravans. There were some explosions. There were some dogs killed. There was quite a lot of trouble. And she in particular had the most extraordinary ability with language. I remember discussing with someone about the fact that she could talk for about 5 minutes without without pause, without repetition, and with a stream of unbelievable filth and bad language that was simply, well, it was terribly impressive and slightly intimidating. But nevertheless, she was, I believe, threatened with deportation back to a land that she'd never been to when her sentence was over. I don't know whether she was deported. I lost contact. But under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which protects the right to family and private life, that would possibly stop some of those deportations. This right is not absolute, but must be balanced against the public interest. And the courts, through a corpus of case law, Razga, MF Nigeria, Heslam Ali, and HA in Iraq, developed an intricate proportionality test. Very compelling circumstances must exist to prevent deportation, especially for those with sentences exceeding 4 years. Exceptions exist, but they are tight. A British child, a settled partner, or evidence of lifelong residence and cultural integration. And yet, with every court victory by an appellant, the tabloids cry scandal. Remember the infamous cat case invoked by Theresa May. The narrative is perennial. Foreign criminals exploiting our leniency. Now, Labour, facing pressure from a surging Reform UK and dire local election results, has decided to act. Not cautiously, but operatically, and Miss Cooper's white paper reportedly proposes 1. Deportation for any criminal offence, regardless of sentence length. 2. Notification of all foreign national offenders to the Home Office. 3. A restriction of Article 8 defences. And 4. Cancelling visas for criminal suspects before they can put down roots. This is no minor recalibration. It effectively lowers the bar of deportability from serious offences to any brush with the law. Under this framework, petty theft or criminal damage, already punishable, already part of the justice system, would also become immigration triggers. One cannot help but suspect that this is not so much law as theatre, a bid to out-tough the Tories and neutralise Farage in one fell swoop. But will it work? Let's examine the premise that migrant crime is rising and deportation is the answer. The claim, repeated both by the Mail and the Centre for Migration Control, is that foreign nationals are disproportionately represented in arrest statistics, particularly for sex offences. Indeed, it was alleged that Albanians have an arrest rate of 210 per 1,000, shocking at face value, but lacking crucial context. Arrest doesn't equal conviction. Nor does it distinguish asylum seekers from visa overstayers, nor factor in structural biases or police targeting. Meanwhile, national crime rates have fallen in recent years. According to the ONS data, crime is lower now than it was a decade ago, but perception, fueled by selective statistics and sensational headlines, tells a different story. And politics tends to follow perception, not evidence. There's also the unresolved issue of data quality. The Home Office itself concedes that its internal tracking of foreign national offenders is incomplete and unreliable. By 2025's end, it promises better reporting, one suspects conveniently closer to a general election. Let's be clear, the deportation of those who commit serious crimes is often legitimate and necessary. Public safety is a valid concern, but a sweeping indiscriminate policy risks undermining both justice and common sense. And of course, if you're deporting somebody, they are effectively being punished twice for an offence that an ordinary citizen in the United Kingdom would only suffer one punishment. These foreign migrants are suffering two. The courts have consistently upheld that deportation must remain proportionate. It is not just about what lawbreakers deserve, but about what our society values: procedural fairness, family unity, rehabilitation, and international legal norms. Are we to become a country that tears families apart for minor offences, that denies children their parent for shoplifting, that confuses being tough on crime with being cavalier about complexity? And pragmatically, where do we send these people? Will Albania take them? Will Pakistan or Nigeria accept mass returns? Deportation is not a policy, it's a process, often fraught, slow, and diplomatically sensitive. In the end, Labour's plan is a mirror reflecting our political anxieties more than offering real resolution. Yes, the public wants control, but they also want fairness, and if this policy becomes law, the courts will be its battlefield, and the human consequences will not be felt in the Commons chamber, but in family homes, classrooms, and detention centres. It's the state versus the individual, and how we adjudicate that balance will say everything about who we are.